Welcome to the latest episode of Taurus Rising. You are here with myself, Mandy Elam, and the wonderful Ursula Duffy. Ursula, how are you today?
I'm good, Mandy. Thank you. How are you?
I am excited and honored to introduce our incredible guest, Sibyl Star, who is an astrologist and just such a light in our world and has so many things to share with us today. Welcome, Sibyl. How are you?
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me on this show, Mandy. I'm thrilled to be here. And thank you, Ursula. I'm so grateful to meet you. Mandy and I have met before, but I'm doing wonderful. I'm doing very well.
Awesome. We're going to get into a lot of topics today because today is a very special day and we're going to talk about that. Just before we get into that, would you mind, Sybil, just sharing a little bit about yourself with our listeners and what you do and maybe how they could follow you?
Okay, well, my name is Sibyl Star. And I have been doing astrology professionally for about 20 years, probably a little over. As I was sharing with Mandy and Ursula prior, because we were just talking, that I discovered astrology when I was 12. It was in my first Jupiter return. And I was in the Catholic Church, and the Catholic Church had gone through all those changes around that time. Vatican II, I think it was what it was called. We'd been told all this time, God said this, God said that. Well, then suddenly God didn't say that. Somebody else said that. And I felt, like God, I'd been lied to. And I discovered astrology at the same time. And it was really the thing that really started helping me make sense out of my life, out of who I was, because nothing in the church made any sense anymore. And I just, it was a passion that I had. And it was my teacher at that time, or it was a book I found, and her name was Sibyl Leek. She was a witch. Of course, I didn't know that when I was 12, but she was an astrologer. And I just fell in love with it. And it's just been a passion my whole life. And I've done charts off and on most of my life, but I didn't really take it seriously until I was in my mid 40s because, life got in the way. I mean, life, like many people, my early years were pretty traumatic. But as I got older, things started evening out, calming out, started finding myself, my way in the world. And that's when I also chose the name Sibyl Star, and Sibyl means prophetess. It's a Greek word, the Sibyl of Delphi. She was the ancient prophetess of Mother Earth, actually, of Mother Gaia, before the Pythia and the Temple of Apollo. And the Sibyl means, like I said, prophetess, and it's prophetess of the stars. That's what my name means. And, it's so important what we call ourselves in the world, how we self-identify. So I live right now in Santa Rosa, California, but I'm getting ready to move to Tennessee and to be part of a intentional community, a spiritual intentional community that's gathering. And so it's the first time I've said it publicly, and I feel so called to go, and just really listening to what is in my heart and trusting the process and following the flow of the energy in my life. And that's what I think a lot of what is going on is about, especially in this year with all the water, with all of the Pisces and water and Jupiter and Neptune and that energy being so strong. And so I'm doing that myself and leaving California.
How potent, how incredible. Something we talk about often on Sea Goddess Healing Arts is trying to make decisions based on what our heart wants most and not what other people think or might think, because most of the time it's for the highest good. Even if it's a disaster or what we think is a failure, it's still exactly what we're supposed to be doing. Exactly. And I'm bowing to you and I honor that so much. And we're sending you so many blessings. And maybe we'll get to meet you through there because we have one of our other sea goddesses moved to the Nashville area. So we'll be
really
in Tennessee soon, actually, and then hopefully visiting there regularly.
Oh, that would be great. Well, it's in Eastern Tennessee. It's about an hour from Asheville and an hour from Knoxville, and And my
Perfect.
son also lives in Washington, D.C., and that was another big calling piece because I have grandchildren, and in California, it's just so hard to be part of their lives. And when this opportunity opened, it's just my heart just said yes for many reasons, that being one of them.
Beautiful. We're sending you all the blessings.
Okay.
So we have several topics we're going to get into today. We're going to talk a little bit about Sibyl's chart. We're going to talk about the astrology of our nation's chart, the United States chart. And what was the other thing we were going to talk
Just
about?
what's happening now generally, because there's beautiful, there's challenging and beautiful energy, because we are in the midst of a shift in consciousness, and the old is dying and the new is in process. And when it's in process, it's really hard to see and trust and believe, because all you can see is the the old falling apart. And yet the new is coming in, and we're also seeing that too, and it's really about trusting it. We just can't really see the end point. Anyway, so why don't we just get into it? I'll talk just a few minutes about my chart since you wanted to see it. And then we'll
Beautiful.
talk about the chart of the United States, and I am co-host here, so I can share this. All right. So you can see my chart?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So when I was born, there were 5 planets in Aquarius. So I'm very Aquarian. I feel like, I was born for the Aquarian age, this shift into Aquarius. And I do feel like we have 1 foot in Aquarius and 1 foot in Pisces. We are straddling both. Okay. And so I have the sun, the moon, Jupiter, Venus, and Mercury all in Aquarius. That's called a stellium. And so, it's a gift and a challenge. The gift is that what they say is kind of like when you have a bunch of planets grouped together, it's like when you make a decision, you can throw all your energy behind it. The problem is it the right decision? Because you can go down the wrong path as easy as the right path. But as you said, Mandy, sometimes the right turn, what we think is a wrong turn is really the correct turn, is what we needed to do to learn whatever it was we needed to learn. And it's all in the 4th house. 4th house is one of the most invisible houses. It's one of the houses of soul. And, and I'm going to say in the 4th house, all this energy there, I grew up very shy and very much of an introvert. And Aquarius, though, is not an introverted sign. So I have, and I have a lot of, so I feel like what this is about, a big piece of this lifetime is about learning to understand my own emotions. Understand myself through my feelings, and to understand I am not my feelings and I am not my mind. I am both, And I feel like they say the 4th house is the house most related to soul. I mean, on a very mundane level, we say home, family, land, all of that is true. Every bit of that is true. But it's also that one of the primary houses of self-understanding. And so that's probably why I was so drawn to astrology and needed it so much. So when you have 4th house placements, that is very much about self-understanding. Yeah. And so I guess I would also say I have Pluto opposite basically all of these planets. It's right in the middle of Leo. I'm constantly meeting my shadow. It's kind of like this lifetime is a constant shadow meeting, especially in the field of emotion. And I would say these times have really brought out my Pluto, because the 10th house is also our mission in life, and to be transformative of the being a very public person who brings about transformation. Okay. And so I feel like just lately I've really stepped into that by how you have experienced me, Mandy. I've never been someone that's, passion has had to drive me, but I haven't been that passionate about a whole lot of things. It's just when it comes in, I really am. And what has happened the last 2 years, I've been very passionate about and felt the need to be very outspoken, because Pluto is ultimately about truth. It's like ultimately what is true, what is authentic, and I was just simply required to speak up.
Mm.
From what I saw, from the perspective that I had. Okay. And then I have a Libra ascendant, and I have a bunch of Libra here in the 12th house. And, the 12th house, a lot of energy there often indicates there's a part of us still on the other side that is really straddling two worlds. Okay. And so, just, yeah, I don't want to get too deep into my chart because that's not really what I want to talk about, but I just wanted to share it with you.
I thank you. And I'm bowing to you because we need you in this lifetime. We're studying the emotions. We're building the bridge into the new earth. And in order to do that, we have to master our emotional capacity. So it would make sense that such a lighthouse such as yourself would come in and want to study that intricately.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Yeah. And to be, and Pluto really requires courage to look at the deepest truth, to be aligned with truth. Yeah, and authenticity. All right, now let's go to, let me see if I probably have to do it like this. Let me do
Ursula,
this.
did you have any questions for Sibyl about her chart or comments that you saw?
Well, one of the things too that I always talk about and relate to the 4th house space is authentic self.
Right.
And I feel like that's not talked about enough.
I agree.
It's always, like you said, the mundane things like home and family and ancestry and that kind of stuff. But I feel like one of the highest expressions of that space is authenticity.
Well, I think the 3 water houses are the houses of soul, and all 3 of those require deep authenticity. I think all 3 of them do. And the 4th house, really, like you said, is kind of just often looked over and, it's just house of home family. But it is really, you have planets there. You come in to be authentic and to understand who you are so that you can be authentic.
Yeah. And one of the things too that I always focus on with stelliums is there's so much energy on that one side that I feel like a lot of the big lessons come from understanding the opposite sign.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so understanding the Leo parts. Yeah.
And so I have Pluto opposite pretty much all of those because it's right in the middle, but it's very tight with the moon and Jupiter. But I'm going to say Pluto brings in humbling experiences. Aquarius's theme is, I know. Well, Pluto has showed me I don't know. I mean, more than once, I have been absolutely certain of something, and of course, I was completely wrong. Yeah. And so, it has been very humbling in that, to be able to listen to another point of view and to recognize that I make mistakes.
And that's okay.
and
to own up to that.
And to learn from that and to just own it. To own it. That's part of the power of owning it. Yeah.
And a skill we're going to need moving into to the future here.
Oh, absolutely. All right. And let's look at the
the
chart of the United States, because that's a big piece of it is owning our own shadow. I mean, Pluto. So let's look at the chart of the United States and we'll talk about what's happening right now. So, everybody has been talking about, the Pluto return. Well, first, let's just kind of go over the chart itself. Okay, just kind of the points so that people here can. So we were born, and we give birth to something. So the birth chart of the United States was at the moment they signed the Declaration of Independence. Okay, so any event has a birth. Okay. And so the sun was at 13 degrees of Cancer. And I want to share something about that. This, our founding fathers were, they were Masons, they were Freemasons. And that date was chosen. They were deep into astrology. You go to Washington, D.C., and I know you live in New Jersey, Mandy. Ursula, where do you live?
Atlantic City, New Jersey.
You both live in New Jersey, so that's not that far. You've probably been there.
Oh, yeah. And we have a birth chart for our business, too. We believe in this. And Philadelphia is right up the road.
Yeah.
My mom's from Philadelphia.
Oh, that's right. It's in Philadelphia. Right. So in Philadelphia. But Washington, D.C. was actually, that would be the word, planned by the founding fathers. And as you have been there, you've seen all of the Greco-Egyptian iconography and art, and I mean, everywhere you go, it's there. And it was based on some sacred geometry, the plan, but the day itself, the 4th of July at 13 degrees of Cancer, is when the Mother Earth, is aligned with the star Sirius. And, the Egyptians believed that the star Sirius was the celestial body of the goddess Isis, or Isis, and Osset, all of her different names.
Mm.
And we are under the protection of this Egyptian goddess. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That gave me
Yeah.
chills.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's funny too, because I just started wearing these Ankh earrings.
Oh, there you go.
And I see your Ankh in the background there.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah. I do have an Ankh right there. And I have Isis is the goddess. You can't see her, but she's over my altar. And I've walked with her for probably 25 years.
Wow.
Yeah, she's one of our OG goddesses for sure. One of my most powerful initiations was working with her energy, and it's so nice to hear that that's who we're working with as basically the divine feminine representative of the United States.
Absolutely right. And before I get into the chart, I want to just share one more thing, and that is, I don't know if you're familiar with the Ascended Master Saint Germain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, Saint Germain was very involved in the creation of the United States. He lived in France at the time that Benjamin Franklin and these other people were going, involved with France, because France was very involved in the creation of the United States. And I don't know that Saint Germain ever came to the United States. He may have, he may not have, but he was deeply involved in our creation, because one of his teachings is that the next enlightened civilization will be in North America. This is why he is coming to so many people, and he shows up in the United States a lot, especially in Mount Shasta, and especially in Yellowstone and the Grand Tetons. And a lot of people have, anyway, if in fact we are to be the next enlightened civilization here, or at least North America, we have to go through a transformation. We certainly are not there now. Okay. And so this is where we begin. Okay. So Pluto, this is Pluto. Pluto in the chart of the United States, Pluto is at 27 degrees, 32 minutes of Capricorn here in the second house. We are having a Pluto return. Now, it's actually, I think, a 2-year process, because the precession of the equinoxes, it's like this. Pluto has returned to 27 degrees, 32 minutes of Capricorn, and came there on February 20th, and will activate this spot 3 times in 2022. Okay, but the actual place in the sky where Pluto was is a bit different because of the wobble of the Earth and the precession of the equinoxes. Okay, and so some say they feel like this is the beginning, but it won't end until 2024, when Pluto activates 1 degree Aquarius, which is the exact place in the sky. Okay, so it's a process. It's not just an event. It's a process that and Pluto is god of death, transformation, and rebirth. And let's see here.
I feel like you've said that before, Ursula, because I always say, "Oh, are we at the age of Aquarius yet? Is it happening? Like, have we shifted the energy?" And I've heard Ursula say, "I think 2024 is going to be pretty big with that."
Oh yeah, 2024 is going to be huge. Absolutely, absolutely huge. But anyway, so back to this Pluto return, and here we are, and Pluto is god of death, transformation, and rebirth. Pluto is about, deep authenticity and truth. Pluto takes away everything that is not true. It's lifting the veil. And wherever Pluto transits, it's going to show us the underbelly, you know, the corruption, what is corrupted, what is no longer has life force is the composting. It's a composter, you know, and it separates what is life force and what does not, what is true and authentic at this point in time. Just because it's not true and authentic now doesn't mean it wasn't at one time. But now you know, it's, some say a snake shedding its skin, but I see it more like the caterpillar in the chrysalis stage. Okay,
Yeah.
I see it more like the it's like going so much deeper into the mystery, because when the caterpillar is in that chrysalis, they don't know what's going on. You know, everything, they don't, you know, they're not who they were. They can't see, they don't know. Like what was that saying? What the caterpillar calls death, the master calls the butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and I feel like we are moving into that chrysalis stage. Okay, and it is, and it's so much about, you know, well, number one, you know, Pluto represents the collective unconscious. And so there is a piece of this recognizing that we here in the United States, this is about the United States, and that we, and by the way, okay, so the Pluto return, I want to go back and say it happens every 248 years. So this is our first one. Okay.
Wow.
And it's, yeah. And
It's
so,
very significant.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like, who, are we the nation we want to be? You know, are we who we really want to be? You know, because it is about, the second house is about values, what we value. And, you know, and I feel like what it is showing us is who we have become, but is this who we really want to be? And we have the opportunity to make different choices. And a big piece of it is doing our own shadow work. As we look at the shadow of the United States, recognizing that we are all part of that shadow. And the change happens within, you know. This is how we change. We don't change the outer world. The outer world is changed by the choices we make. The inner world creates the outer world. Okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. And so, you know, I feel like we're all being called upon to look at, you know, at our own part in this. And the thing to also look at too, you know, Pluto is also about power. And here we are, you know, on the brink of war. I mean, we've gone through these 2 terrible years, you know, and now we are, you know, on the brink of war. And so the question is, what is this really about? And you know, I'm going to come back to Pluto, but I want to look at another aspect that is going on, and that is, we have a Neptune Mars square in the chart of the United States. Okay. And Neptune, you know, the shadow side of Neptune is about illusion, delusion. You know, Pluto is coming along to lift the veil, but we have been in a trance. Neptune is very much about a trance, being in a trance. It's altered states of consciousness. It is, you know, often I say Neptune is like being in the land of fairy. Okay. And it's getting lost there in what is real and what is unreal. Okay. And when it's in an aspect of Mars, Mars is about action, taking action. And so often you can get a deceptive action. Okay. And the United States is certainly known for deceptive action. Okay.
What? Us? Never. I'm loving this conversation. I joke around with my mom a lot. I'm like, I feel like I want to just be like America's cheerleader because like we can do better. And like I know like everybody who is part of this country in their heart of hearts wants to. Like we were all raised to be the best and do the best. But where did that mantra get lost? In our shadow work, which you're bringing up so much. And this entire World War III thing that's happening right now, it really is a spiritual war. And this whole revolution starts with our own inner evolution.
Absolutely.
So this is like the best example of that. What are you going to say, Earth? I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
No, I was going to say too that there's so many layers of illusion kind of integrated into everything that's concurrently happening and has been for the past 2 years as well.
Right.
So as this aspect has been building, you know, with the Pluto return plus the Neptune opposition, it's just been building and building and building. And here we are at this culmination point.
Right. Mars and Neptune together is a spiritual warrior, but it only works when the ego is in service to spirit, not when it's in service to the ego.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Pluto is pulling the veil. I mean, it is just unveiling, revealing just layer after layer after layer of, you know, the corruption and it's kind of like, you know, I've also been a nurse for 40 years, you know, and it's a purification process we're going through is what it is. It's like a fever. Okay. And, you know, in our world, you know, we treat a fever, whereas for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, a fever was part of the healing process. You know, give me a fever and you'll heal, you know, you'll heal because you burn it off. You burn off the toxins, you know, and we are there now. So we are kind of like in a fever. And and Neptune, you know, rules toxins and poisons.
And immunity.
Yeah. I'm sorry, what did you say, Ursula?
And immunity.
And immunity, absolutely. And the immune system. And so, you know, and you know, and also as we get more into, you know, the current transit of Neptune and Pisces and all of the water, and, you know, water is, what was I going to say? Oh, this was it, right. I just read yesterday that the amount of drugs in the water is phenomenal.
I believe
and
it.
you know, and it's not just pollution, it is people's urine, people's excrement. I mean, so many people are taking so many drugs and they're excreting them into the water. And the water, our water, and the filters do not filter out the drugs. You know, that's why it's so important to have good water during this time, structured water, spring water, water that has not gone through our filtration system.
It's a huge part of this next chapter. Water is going to be a huge focal point. And if we get on it now as a humanity, we're going to be able to really clean it up and resource it properly.
Well, but we've got Pluto here, you know, and Pluto is showing us, but will we acknowledge it? You know, I mean, you know, the other shadow side of Neptune has lots of beautiful, wonderful traits, and it's one of my favorite energies, but it's one of the harder ones to do well here, because it is so easy to believe what we want to believe, not what is really true. And, you know, Pluto is pulling the veil off, and we will have that, because Pluto's about self-empowerment. It's like we can't empower ourselves, so we can't acknowledge what is true.
We have to look. You keep saying unveiling. That's what apocalypse means, is like the unveiling. And this pairs with so much potential cognitive dissonance, which this chart in our personal charts encourage us to look at.
And one of the things too about that chrysalis phase of the metamorphosis is those imaginal selves.
Right.
So we can put any form, idea, concept, anything, vibration into that stage to see rebirth what we want.
Rebirth what we want. Absolutely. Absolutely. So anyway, I want to go on to what's happening now, because there is hope. It isn't like there isn't. I mean, it's just that we, you know, that what was it, words from a Hopi elder, and I'm actually going to read it at the end, because I feel like we are at the 11th hour. We are there, and we are waking up. There are so many people waking up, and we absolutely, like you said, Ursula, I mean, in the chrysalis, it is the imaginal selves. This is how we're building the new. The new is absolutely, you know, we're building it in the quantum field, and we have such access to the quantum field right now. So so I'm going to pull up the chart of right now. Okay.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so let me get to that chart. Let me see. Just today, I'm just going to, well, you know what? I'd like to do the Pisces new moon if I could, but I don't think I can do that. So we'll just look at today.
Anything you want, you are welcome. And for our tuner inners, it's the 24th of February, and there's a lot going on in the world today.
And I might have it. I might have that Pisces new moon. Let me see if I have it.
Take your time. We're just so excited and honored you're shedding light on all of this, especially because we're on this a lot. There's a lot of fear right now that we're on the verge of World War III. And it's really important that we take a nice look at that and what that means for each of us as sovereign beings and for all of us as a collective and what we can do to respond to this energy. So I'm really excited.
What I want to say about that war, and I kind of got sidetracked, is I really feel like all is not as it seems. And we're talking about Pluto, the Pluto return, there is something called, the World Economic Forum. And so many of the leaders in our world have trained there. And it is truly a globalist agenda. Yeah. Putin, Merkel, Angela Merkel, Macron, I can't remember his first name, France, Vladimir Putin, John Kerry, they were all trained there, and they're all on the same agenda. Is this is this is part. I feel like I'm sharing what the fact is they were all trained there. And then they have the new young leaders who is Trudeau and Newsom, Gavin Newsom and Pete Buttigieg. And half of the Canadian cabinet was trained at this World Economic Forum leadership training. And it is part of a globalist agenda. And I feel like what this war is one thing is it's a distraction. Because and I should have spoken more about this, but Pluto is in the second house, which is the economy. It is the financial sector, and I think basically they have robbed us. Our country is bankrupt now.
Yep.
And I've been hearing once again the rumbles of, the entitlements, they've given all these tax cuts to all these millionaires who aren't paying anything. And they, of course, want to cut entitlements. And so I think a Pluto return to me is a time of reckoning. Okay. Yeah. And it is a reckoning of the greed that has driven our economic system. But I think the other piece is it is a transformation in our values because we are working for the dollar, because of and so I think it's looking at that. And also, Pluto is opposite Mercury in the chart of the United States. Mercury's, God of the mind speaking. And that's why we made, freedom of speech, the First Amendment. So what's the first thing what are they going after? And so, I'm talking about all the bad stuff, but, there's wonderful stuff coming too. They're both happening at the same time, but I feel like it's about finding our voice. What is that meme that goes around? Speak your truth, even if your voice trembles. We are there.
Yeah.
There's never been a safer time to speak our truth, honestly.
Exactly. Yeah. There's right. There's never been a safe time to speak our truth. And now it's vital that we do. We just have to speak up to, the truth of what we see, to say what we see and to know the gaslighting that is going on, all of these different things to try to make us believe something that is not true. Whereas it's right there in front of you, the veil is falling, but we can go deeper into trance with that Neptune Mars being activated, and it's activated all year.
Yeah.
Or we can, as Pluto is coming out of it, we can recognize that we can take a different direction. We don't have to make the mistakes of the past, but the key is to say this is true and this is not true. This is what's happening. This is what I see. There was a meme I saw today on Facebook. It was like, the coronavirus is going through the exit door and the bomb is coming through the entrance door. This is what's happening. And they're all on the same page. They all are working for the same people. You know, Putin, Macron, Merkel, you know, the United States. I mean, this is, you know, it's and of course the pawns are the people. But you know, Aquarius, we're moving into the age of Aquarius, and Aquarius is the power of the people.
Yep.
You know,
And
like the truckers. I mean, you
yeah.
know,
And the country has an Aquarius moon, which I absolutely love.
right. We have an Aquarius moon, and it's going to be activated by Saturn next year.
Yep.
You know, and you know, it's about the personal authority of the people being in their own integrity. And that's what it, you know, like I have so many friends that just, I feel like they're ostriches. They just want to put their head in the sand and pretend something isn't happening. But but more and more and more people are waking up. They just are.
You can't, no matter the program, the agenda, the matrix, all the things, you can't discount human spirit. And we're all turning into, you know, turning within. And if there's one gift of this past chapter of being attacked by this invisible enemy, wherever it came from, however it happened, all the things, many of us got to go within for the first time and experience our biomagnetic field, which goes out like 6 to 8 feet around us, and like be in our own center. And with that, you can't stop your connection to spirit and the downloads and getting more still within yourself. And these rumblings are happening and stirring within you for a reason. And
Absolutely.
I'm so excited you're shedding light on that.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It is about being aligned with our own inner truth and trusting it. And the other thing I wanted to say, which I think is just, I mean, we are shifting into a higher frequency dimensions. And one of the pieces of that, you know, Pluto is a challenge when it comes, but it changes your life so dramatically. Actually, when I see someone having a Pluto transit, I know that they're shifting into a whole new, a rebirth. And a much more powerful self, because Pluto is about self-empowerment. Ultimately, that's what it's about. And golly, I start talking and then I forget what I was going to say.
You're the best. And we also want to talk about Maxwell too.
Oh yeah, right. Oh, right. And so that's also part of the Pluto return, is that, you know, she has well, first off, the new moon, the Pisces new moon, has a Pluto. I don't think I have it up on the chart and up on my screen, unfortunately, but it has a Pluto, Venus, Mars conjunction, all at 27 degrees of Capricorn.
Yes.
And I feel
Ursula
like
confirmed as you were pulling it up. She nodded on
yes.
each one. Good job.
Yeah.
You guys are off.
That it is the pedophilia. I mean, you know, Pluto brings up it reveals, it brings to the light what is lying in the darkest parts of our unconscious, and Mars and Venus together, that is high sexuality. I mean, that is not high sexual. That is sexuality, that is passion, that is desire, and Pluto brings up the shadow of that. Yep. And who is on trial right now but Ghislaine Maxwell in America, in the United States, and she has Saturn at 28 degrees of Capricorn, her own Saturn. And Saturn is called the Lord of Karma. She's meeting up with her karma.
Damn.
Yeah, she is meeting up with her karma, and her karma is going to put into the spotlight, I believe, some powerful people. Some people that do not want their name in the spotlight associated with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. And then this French guy that just, committed suicide, in prison, who was like the French connection. Yeah. And so I feel like this is another piece. Because, Pluto, I feel like the Pluto return is like a day of reckoning. It's like we have, and it's in Capricorn, which Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. And so, it's about owning your shit, and being responsible. And, and all of the trauma that has been committed on this land, That is a really big piece of it.
That's how we're going to heal. It happens microly within ourselves, generationally, and it's been around lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And it is the bridge to moving forward, is releasing all this trauma and blame. And it lives within us at a cellular level. And the only way we heal it is to look within and with our own Plutos and all that.
Absolutely, Mandy and Ursula. That is exactly what this is about. It's about because we are all part of the collective unconscious. We are creating it. You know, the world is created from the inside out. And as we each do our own healing, and, you know, I love the Native American saying, or the, you know, American Indian saying, when we heal ourselves, we heal 7 generations before us, 7 generations after us, and Mother Earth. Okay. And a big piece of that is forgiveness. It's letting go. You know, there's some things that are going to require making amends, you know, but there are some things we just have to let go of, because there's just no way we can take it with us. We can't take the old stuff with us into the new frequency. It doesn't align. The frequency does not align. That's why it's coming to the surface, is so that we can let go of it. And the other piece is, and I have some people I studied with, and they've just a very wise teaching. What they said was that this, as we move into the higher frequency dimensions, it is about freeing ourselves from the fear/control matrix in which we live. And how we are tied to this is through the lower frequency emotions, such as fear, blame, you know, guilt, shame, criticism, all of those things.
Yep.
And so
the true root of evil, the true lack of love.
Right, the true lack of love. And right, because that's how we love ourselves, is to release all of those things. So whatever process a person needs to take to do that, you know, to become aware. It's about awakening and becoming aware, and knowing this is also part of the conditioning. It's thousands of years of conditioning. A lot of this stuff is not even ours, you know, but we have taken it on. You know, I kind of refer it to like original sin. It's like when we come down into this plane, we kind of step into this field, and in this field are all of these emotions. And so however we can let them go, and like I said, forgiveness sometimes isn't, you can't just do it. It is something, amends need to be made on some level. But the number one thing is self-forgiveness, because who do we blame first? Ourselves.
Yep.
You know, and to let go of what is, and to become, what is my stuff and what is really not my stuff. What have I been told that just isn't true? You know, all of these things, because Pluto really does bring self-empowerment. And like I said, it's opposite Mercury, so it's so important to speak up and to find our voice. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see what else I want to say here. Okay. I think that's it there. Okay. Yeah, that this war, you know, it's being staged and scripted is a distraction. I mean, it's kind of like right on time. You know, it's just like the one leaving, one coming in. And
ride the dog.
And it just doesn't resonate energetically. Like for me, in my priestessness and my empathicness, psychicness, whatever you want to call it, in my holding space spiritually, when there's real things happening, you feel it resonate through you. And there's just something strange going on right now that isn't resonating quite yet.
I kept saying, like, what is the point? Why are they doing this? You know, why? Because it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, but it's just like, you know, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't resonate. Right. This is part of a script. This is the next distraction. This is the next fear. And this is what we can't engage with. To engage with that energy of fear, because this is what they're trying to ramp up. And fear is what keeps us tied to this matrix, this 3D matrix. And we are trying to, you know, and we are seeking freedom from the 3D matrix.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So the one thing that I think is important too to also point out is the last time Pluto and Mars came together was 2 years ago when all of this started.
Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right. Absolutely.
So when those two planets come together, especially where they have been coming together, it's just very interesting.
Right.
And there's something
Absolutely.
very macabre about it.
Right.
And it's really, really important to stay in the light.
Yeah. And the thing to remember too, with this Mars, Venus, Pluto conjunction at the Pisces New Moon, I believe number one, that may be when the United States enters the war, which we have no business over there, but got to have a distraction. But
we've done that before.
But the nodes of the moon, the north node is ruled by Venus, the south node is ruled by Mars and Pluto.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, what does that mean? Well, number one, the Scorpio South Node, the South Node is what we're releasing, and it's, releasing that old conditioning and emotional trauma and the old stories that no longer serve us.
Exactly.
The truth is, a lot of the emotion is tied to the story, and, and the story is often not even true. It's how we, and so and just to let go of that old stuff that keeps us attached to the control matrix, those lower frequency vibrations, as we talked about. But the way forward is Taurus Rising. There we go. That's another Taurus piece.
Yep.
Taurus is so much about our connection to Mother Earth. It is the connection to nature. It's about an embodied spirituality. And this is where we're going. As we move into, higher frequency dimensions, we're going to be in our bodies, but our bodies will be lighter, because the space between the molecules will be larger the more light we let in, okay, and the higher frequency. It's and Venus is also about our connection with others, and I feel like this is a big part also of the transformation that is coming with Pluto in the second house, which is the house of Taurus, ruled by Venus. Now, Venus, and we're in the year 2022, which twos are all about our connection with others. This is our new value. We have allowed our worship of money and greed to really, what's the word I'm looking for? Be in charge of our lives.
Yeah,
Controller.
as we say, rule all. That's been
Yeah.
the highest energy that we've been focusing on as a collective, which we've been taught to do because we wanted to break free from our slavehood chains. So then we were taught, like, oh, if you go out and you make a good living and you do your thing, you can be free. And there's parts of that that are true and that are going to work in the new structure that we co-create in our new Earth matrix, where you're valued for, the work that your soul is here to do. However, our current system is failing and crumbling rapidly beneath us, and it needs to happen. And most people kind of prayed for this. Most people were like, oh my God, I don't want to go to work. I don't want to go to work. Like, how many people focused on, I'm sick, I'm burnt out, I'm tired, I can't handle this. And what did we get? A 2-year rest, kind of, for the most part. So, we can't negate like the amazing power of our collective minds and what we're focusing on.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Taurus, is so much about a back to the land movement. I know so many people that I'm involved with a group. There are so many people moving who want a more rural kind of existence and are really wanting to grow their own food, wanting to have, well, I think we're going to need to. I think things are changing in a way that it's really important to have that connection to the land. And even if you're in a city, to have a little garden, to have a connection to Mother Earth and especially to the food chain. I think this is something that is really coming. I mean, some people can even have little gardens on their porch, I mean, I've known people that have grown food, something there. But I think it's important for 2 reasons. One, because we're, the food is important, and to know the kind of food you're eating, because they have Frankenfood planned for us.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
It's true. It's true. That was my little COVID project, because like right in the beginning of the pandemic, I think it was like in Michigan or something, they were shutting down like the home and garden sections in so many places, and people weren't allowed to buy seeds. And I was like, that. And I started building all of these awesome, like smart pot gardens and different types of gardens. I'm like, I'm going to learn as much as I can and save as many seeds as I can. Because if shit goes down, I live on an island and I can share seeds and we can at least start there and fish and do what we got to do if, you know, if allowed. And I think more and more people are wanting that connection to your food because it's so sacred. And I think we're remembering that. And we're like, what am I consuming and why? And I know for me, a lot of my eating journey started with like eating, you know, I eat everything, but now I'm like real food, mostly plants, not too much is what Michael Pollan's rules I try to kind of stick by and be really mindful of where my food's coming from and how. And it's so important with that in our water right now. And if, you know, if you have no idea where to start with all these, you know, impending energies, that is just a perfect place to be mindful of what it is you're consuming in your body and how and where it's coming from and the energy with it.
Absolutely. And it's very grounding because, you know, Taurus is so much about being grounded, centered in your heart, you know, and Taurus, you know, one of the meanings of Taurus to me is about being like the tree whose roots go deep down into the ground while the storm swirls around. That doesn't mean there's not a storm, but that means that you are grounded and centered in it. And I think that connection to your food and connection to Mother Earth in that way of just having your hands in the soil, however it is, even if it's a pot on your porch, you know, I think that is hugely important. And like I said, you know, we are moving into the age of Aquarius is very much about an embodied spirituality. It's the sacredness of the body. Remember, you know, releasing, you know, we have had, you know, the paradigm shift that we are having. That is one of the big pieces of it is the remembering the sacredness of our bodies. You know, we have been taught by the more sky god based spiritualities to leave our bodies. You know, the body is a shameful place to be, and that's the fall is when we got into our bodies, when the truth is our bodies are a gift from Mother Earth, you know, and we are going through these, you know, our solar system is going through has changed where it is in the cosmos, and it's going through fields of increased light, increased photonic energy, and these light codes are coming in, and they are and we are being asked to anchor them into our bodies. I mean, some people say we're even moving into a new species from Homo sapiens into Homo luminous, and that, you know, our DNA has always held light. It's just now that it's being activated. It's been covered over by fear, and so all our fear is coming up so that we can look at it, release it, let it go, and once again remember that we are part of something greater than ourselves, that we are not alone. And so this brings me into the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction that we are having. And it's, well, I'm going to say it's really happening. Do you want to see a chart, or are we okay to just talk about it?
We can just talk about it.
Okay, great. All right. So, you know, Neptune, we talked a little bit about Neptune. Neptune to me is one of the most beautiful energies in the cosmos, but it's also one of the most challenging to do here on Mother Earth, you know, and because it has to do with, you know, the realm of the invisible, our transcendent self. It's an energy that you can't even really put words to because it doesn't fit into anything. It's just very diffuse and deeply spiritual. Like I said, it is the transcendent parts of ourselves. And in Pisces, is the sign that it rules. And so it has been traveling in Pisces. And one of the teachings I absolutely believe is helping us remember, you know, that we are all one, that, you know, we've always known energetically through not we, let's just say, more indigenous teachings have always known this, and now science, as we move into the quantum field, is really proving that.
Yes.
And right, that we are all energy. And Jupiter,
alone, one of my clients pointed out to me recently that alone really means all one.
All one. There you go.
There
you go. All one. Absolutely. We are all one. And Jupiter is the planet is called the Great Benefic. It brings blessings. And Jupiter is the ancient ruler of Pisces. Neptune is the modern ruler. And both of them, with Jupiter especially, Jupiter brings opportunity, but they both also bring endings. So it's kind of like an ending and a beginning cycle. And so just so much water. I'm just going to say, and Jupiter magnifies everything it touches. So we are moving into a time of just a tremendous amount of water, especially in March and April. And we've had a lot of water. Ever since Jupiter moved into Pisces, there's been tremendous snow dumped everywhere, you know. Of course, California, you know, we're still, you know, but I'm hoping we get some. And so water and all of the meanings of water are just incredibly important right now.
They're cleansing and powerful.
Yeah. And, you know, we're in a purification process. And what do you do in a purification process? You pour the water on it. The water cools it down and cleanses it and pushes it out. I just got through with a big detox, and I was drinking a gallon of water a day because that's how I moved the toxins out. What I was taking brought it to the surface, and the water moved. Water is cleansing. Okay. And so it helps release the toxins, flushes them out. And so I think we're going to have a lot of emphasis on the water. And so like this, you know, finding all of these chemicals in the water, drugs, you know, this is huge. Because we're all getting them in, you know, we're all taking them now. I mean, antidepressants, I mean, all of this stuff, things we don't want to take. If we're drinking tap water, it's there, you know, and you know the huge amount of those kind of medications that people are taking now. But anyway, so the important thing is to be near the water, bathe, drink water, bless water. And, you know, the indigenous people, they know that water has memory and water carries sound. And so they stand in the water and say their prayers. And if you live on an island, you know, to go out and you know, stand in the water when you say your prayers and set your intention for the water to carry it. And it will carry it all over the world.
I will do that. I love giving Reiki to the earth, and anybody can do that. Like whether you're just driving up the road and you're like, thank you, trees. Thank you for standing and witnessing all this shit we've been doing for the past 400 years or however long your little soul has been here for right now. And it's so amazing what it is, like what we can do. And when you talk about the water, I also think about this last chapter and the chapter we're moving into with this unveiling. It's bringing a lot of grief. And tears water our soul garden so we can grow.
Absolutely.
And we're supposed to be bringing up this transformative watery energy within us, and crying and leaking is okay right now.
Absolutely. That is such a great point. Absolutely. And Pluto, of course, you know, brings up a lot. Well, Pluto and Neptune both. And they both bring up loss. They're both loss. Yeah. Yeah. And so, but I also feel like in the months of March and April, we're getting huge spiritual upgrades, that the light is just pouring in. So while on one hand, you know, we've got this war going on, we got all this, you know, all this distraction, the truth of it is when we stay centered within ourselves, there are spiritual upgrades happening.
Yes.
Okay.
So many.
Yeah, these higher frequency energies are coming in. And so I think the guidance is also, you know, about, you know, praying in the water. But it's also about, as these upgrades come, being able to trust the process and follow the flow of the energy. Be like water, like they say, flow like water, and go through the doors that open. You know, water doesn't, well, I mean, a storm will burst through, but normally water flows, it will flow around an obstacle. You know, it's how to, now they don't try to go through, you know, it's follow the path of least resistance. And especially with Jupiter's, go through the doors that open. Okay. Go through the doors that open and pay attention to the doors that are opening versus the ones that are not. Okay. And when you follow the flow, you will find the direction your higher self, spirit, whatever you want to say, is trying to take you into these upgrades. And the other thing to remember, and I just had a really powerful mystical experience in a ceremony that I went to. And
thank you for sharing. That's exciting.
Yeah. And so so this was the big message was in this experience, that I was shown that the heart, you know, that I was told to feel my heart. Water's all about feeling and emotion, to feel my heart, to feel whatever was in my heart, because the heart is the gateway to these higher frequency dimensions. And when I allowed myself to feel what was there, and I don't remember what was there. It was probably some fear. I mean, because fear comes in like contractions, and you just have to breathe through it, whatever is showing up, to feel it and breathe through it. And then it's like this gateway opened, and I was in the light, in this huge space of light, and there were so many others there with me. That's what I was told. The heart is the gateway, and we are not alone. Not only are we not alone, we are many, and the consciousness of humanity is waking up. Okay, and that every time I would say the word we instead of me, it would take me right back into the light. But the thing is, there has to be a conscious me to have a conscious we.
Yes, that's been a huge topic because we've been talking about creating our new matrix and what that looks like. And we have to heal this energy and this system of codependency to create, really nice interdependence. And in order for us to not be codependent and just kind of filling in holes in certain places, we have to really find ourselves, and we have to find our own happiness and our own wholeness, regardless of our relationships or jobs or things going on with outside of us. And that's what's going to help rock us back into harmony and into balance, because we're going to create this new synergistic matrix as opposed to the one that we have right now.
Absolutely. And of course, Neptune and Pisces are very much, the rescuer archetype. And that's why it's so important, but Pluto brings in that sense of, power, of personal power. And so it's like I say, no fixer-uppers. It's like people have their own path. Let people have their own journey, and not everybody is ready to graduate into these higher frequency dimensions. Many people still need a 3D experience. And so how do we walk that line, with people that we care about, but not, and love them, but not try to fix them, and know they are having their own experience, but to have our own experience as well.
I love that, because especially in the spiritual world, a lot of people, talk about this ascension and, if you don't wake up by a certain date, you're left behind. And I'm like, how is that possible? Souls incarnate all day, every day. In order for us we come in with amnesia. We don't remember if we were Cleopatra or Joan of Arc or whoever we were in a past lifetime, so that we can come in and be fully present. And we need these 3D experiences to bridge into the 5D. And the whole point of this 5D is to, like we have every generation, bringing it back to the positive. I see us getting better at this. I see us incarnating lifetime after lifetime. Like, we're not beheading people in the streets anymore. Slavery, does it still exist? Yes, but not in the same way it did. We have animal rights now. Women finally got some rights over the past 80 to 50 years. There's progress we have been making. And that's why we're coming up to this culminative point right now.
Absolutely. And I feel like, the multidimensional nature of reality, there can be more realities in one, what would you call it? There can be more dimensions in one reality.
Yes, agreed.
There can be more. And, like I was saying to a friend of mine, aren't there places you go sometimes where you feel the energy is just different?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And so I feel like there's going to be more and more places. Like, I feel like we're being called to have, I feel like, just personally, I'm being called to be creating a point of consciousness, a point of light. And there's many points of light coming together, which ultimately will raise the vibration, but maybe not everyone will be there, because, not like I was reading something one time, and I said, you can't expect a first grader to graduate from 12th grade. Everybody has to go through all of the grades. And now is a time of a big graduation for a whole sector of humanity, but not everyone. I don't know what that will look like.
There's something else to point out too, Sibyl, that's coming up with the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, is the last time it actually happened in Pisces was during the Civil War.
Oh, really?
So we have this north-south, maybe like the high
absolutely.
vibration, the lower vibration coming, at a standstill, and just,
Right. And there actually is, okay, I would say two things about that. One, we are moving into unity consciousness. Okay, but there are forces that absolutely do not want that to happen. And there are, and I listened to a guy talk, and so who has this device, it was some kind of a computer that he's been able to predict every big event that has happened through this computer. He predicted 9/11, I don't know what at all, anyway, over the last, I don't know, 40 years or something. And the government wanted his device, and he said no, and basically they imprisoned him for 7 years, but he's known as the forecaster. And so he was asked, well, what do you see now? And he said, well, the computer is saying a civil war. Yeah. And I don't think it has to happen. I
would argue we're already in it. It's already happening with everything we're going through with the mask situation and which side are you on, and it's dividing families. And I would argue we're already in that energy, and that it might not have to be a big physical thing. It might end up being that, but like, here we are. Like, this is what is an apocalypse? What is this unveiling? It's got to be a civil war type energy, I would assume.
Yeah, and maybe, so I don't know, like I say, because there's kind of a more than one thing going on at the time. I absolutely believe we're moving into higher frequency dimensions, into more unity consciousness. And yet maybe not everybody is going into unity consciousness, like, and how that will look may be hard to say, but I do feel like so many people are saying enough is enough and want a different life and are moving in a different direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's really forcing us to stand in our own sovereignty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say the word unity is in the word humanity.
Yes, you're absolutely
so as long as we
right.
keep remembering that, we have these hints along the way and how to really get through this and stay in the light and stay in the higher vibration.
Yeah, stay in the higher vibration. And then, of course, we still have the Saturn-Uranus square going on, which I think is very much about manifestation, learning how to work and create in the quantum field, but also revolution. The revolution is here. And when Pluto moves into Aquarius, I feel like, because the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was during the French Revolution. And I feel like it's going to be a revolution of consciousness. Who knows which way it's actually going, but I'm going to say that's in the field, and that is certainly my highest hope, is that enough people are waking up. Because like I said, I had this experience in the light, and there were so many others, and I was told that there are so many others. And they said you are not alone, and they did mean, beings from the universe, light beings, but also just simply humanity, because what I saw were human faces.
I have so much faith into humans. I get, flack for it sometimes, but I really do have so much faith in people. Absolutely. I really think we do want to change and grow. I really think I'm in the change business. Can you force anybody? Hell no. But I think even, people on their darkest days wake up wanting to feel more peace and a little better. They just don't know how to do it yet.
And I think the other piece with Jupiter is about having faith. It is having faith in the future, and that if we, and it's each individual's choice as to how to respond to the energy. And the more who respond in the way that we've been talking about, of, doing their own shadow work, not engaging with the drama, and just following the flow of their own life, and not, engaging with the fear, knowing the fear is in the field, but this is where I'm going, is what it's really about, and having faith, because there is so much help coming in. And we can ask for help, and to know too that those entities, those invisible, the world of the invisible is very near and are willing to help. But we have to ask for help. The beings of light are here to help, because I heard someone say the whole universe is here to help us in this shift. We just have to ask for help.
Well, hasn't then been one of the biggest themes, if anything, over the past 10 years is consent? whether it was
Yes.
through the Me Too movement, whether it's through this entire, COVID experience, whatever it is, consent is huge. And that is a frequency and a law within this realm that, our angels, I say it all the time, they want to help us. The helper beings are there. We have to ask their permission. They can help us, they can manipulate it, but it's really hard for them. It's so much easier if we give them grace and permission and say, please be with me, please support me, please show me the way, please use me, please help me use this vessel and flesh suit as the vehicle to my dreams and your dreams, and help me figure out what we got to do here.
Well,
And
it's a prime directive of the universe, that non-interference, we have free will choice. It is an evolutionary tool. It's how we evolve, by the choices we make. They cannot interfere unless we ask their help. It's not interference. We say, help me, we need help. So I want to close with one thing here, because I think this is just the most appropriate teaching for this moment in time. Okay, and it's been around a long time, but I think now is the time.
thank you.
And it is the Hopi teaching. And it says, you have been telling the people that this is the 11th hour. Now you must go back and tell the people that this is the hour. And there are things to be considered. Where are you living? What are you doing? What are your relationships? Are you in right relationship? Where is your water? Know your garden. It is time to speak your truth. Create your community. Be good to each other. And do not look outside yourself for the leader. Then he clasped his hands together, smiled, and said, this could be a good time. The river is flowing now very fast. It is so great and swift that there are those who will be afraid. They will try to hold on to the shore. They will feel they are torn apart and will suffer greatly. Know the river has a destination. The elders say we must let go of the shore and push off into the middle of the river. Keep our eyes open and our heads above water. And I say, see who is there with you and celebrate. At this time in history, we are to take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. For the moment that we do, our spiritual growth and journey comes to a halt. The time for the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves. Banish the word struggle from your attitude and your vocabulary. All that we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration. We are the ones we've been waiting for.
And so it is. Amen. Aho.
That is so beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like this is where we are now. And to remember the river has a destination. Push off of the shore and see who is there with you.
Oh, Sibyl, thank you so much. My heart is so full and so touched right now.
Yeah, me too.
It feels like that energy. And, all you can do is make the choice for yourself about what you want to do to move forward.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, thank you again for spending this time with us. How can our listeners get a hold of you one more time if they want to follow along with you?
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, you can reach me at, I have a website, sibylstar.com, and that's spelled SIBYLSTAR. And it has my email and ways to contact me. That's really the best way to do that. And I also have videos. I have a YouTube video channel, Sibyl Star. And I have a blog on Facebook called Star Nation Oracle. So those are all ways to reach me.
Beautiful.
Awesome. And if you've made it this far, please give us a like, a share, or a follow on Facebook or Instagram for Sea Goddess Healing Arts. This is Taurus Rising. Thank you all so much for tuning in.